little yarnivores and spiderettes, Fiber Spider back again with another tutorial just for you. And today we have got ourselves another hat, and this one is perfect for the warmer weather because it's very light, it's very lacy, and best of all, it is so easy to do. This is the cluster stitch hat. And since we are approaching the spring, this would be a perfect fit for you, and you can tweak the pattern so that it could be more of a skull cap beanie or more of a slouch hat, which is how I designed this one. And very, very simple. After you do the first couple of rounds, the rest of the rounds pretty much the same, and boom, you got it. And I used for this piece, this was Red Heart Super Saver in ombre, and I did this hat, and I still have quite a bit left over, so I'm going to use this again. I also did another hat using Red Heart Super Saver, made this one a little bit smaller, not as slouchy, but using the exact same method. Really, really easy. If you use cotton, it would be even better for the warmer weather. So this is one of those instances you want to wear a hat, but you don't want it to be, for the Arctic. So that being said, I used actually two different hooks for this project. It was a size I 5.5 millimeter hook to start it, and then to finish it for the brim, I used a size smaller. I used a size H 5 millimeter hook for the brim to make it just a little bit tighter. You can do that as well, or you can just use the one hook. Either or is fine, but it's what I found helped. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started. Alrighty, so round one. Gonna start right in. This is very similar to doing the granny. However, instead of doing groups of 3 double crochets, this is actually 3 double crochets crocheted together, and it will make more sense as we go on. So we're going to start with our slip knot. By the way, I'm using the size I hook to start with, which is the 5.5 focus. Thank you. The 5.5 millimeter hook. So starting off with a slip knot and chaining up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and slip stitching into that first chain to create a ring, like so. And then chain up 3, 1, 2, 3, and then into the ring, going to start a double crochet, but don't finish it. And then start another double crochet, and then pull through all 3 loops, and that is our beginning cluster. All right, so then going on to the next cluster, we chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then going into the center ring again, we need another cluster. So yarning over, going in to that ring, pull through 2. So we're starting a double, but don't finish it. We need to do that 2 more times. So yarning over, pulling up a loop, pull through 2. 1 more, yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, pull through 2, and then pull through all 4 loops to finish your cluster. So we've got 2 clusters, and we need 2 more. So that being said, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, going into that center ring again for another cluster. So after yarning over, going in, pulling up a loop, pull through 2, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through 2, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through 2, then pull through all 4. So that's 3 clusters, chain 3, and to do our last cluster. By the way, I'm working over this tail as I'm stitching. Makes it a lot easier in the long run. So going in, pulling up a loop, pull through 2, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through 2, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through. Got to get all the plies, don't I? There we go. Pull through 2, then pull through all 4, chain 3, and then slip stitch into this chain right here, right there, right into that stitch, going to slip stitch to finish off this first round, like so, and then slip stitch into the chain 3 space. And that, yes, it looks exceedingly similar to how you start off a granny square. However, instead of 3 double crochets, it's actually just 1 at the top there. Okay, so it sort of cinches it together. Okay, so that is the end of round 1. Round 2. All right, so for round 2, we need to do increasing. So we're going to start again by chaining up 3 for our initial starting cluster. So chaining 3, pulling up a loop, pull through 2, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through 2, and then pull through all 3 loops. So that's your starting cluster. And we need another cluster in this same space. In fact, each of these 4 spaces, we need 2 clusters each. So chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then into the same space we need another cluster. So yarning over, pull up a loop, pull through 2, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through 2, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through 2, then pull through all 4. All right, so we've got our 2 clusters into the same space, chain 3, and now into this chain 3 space, we need 2 more clusters. So we'll do the first cluster, so it's just a matter of starting doubles, but not finishing them. And then when you have 4 loops on your hook, pull through all 4 loops, chain 3, and another cluster. And pretty soon, I mean, it does take a little bit of practice, but pretty soon you'll be able to do these clusters in your sleep, without even having to think about it. All right, so I've got 2 clusters in this chain 3 space. Now chain 3 again. And we need 2 clusters in this space. So start with the first cluster. Then pull through all 4 loops. Chain 3. And then we need another cluster. Okay, and then pull through all 4 loops. Okay, and then into this space here, we need 2 clusters. So chain 3, pull out a little bit more yarn, and into the chain 3 space, we need those 2 more clusters. So, and 2, and 3, pull through all 4 loops, like so, chain 3, 1 more cluster. Pull through all 4 loops. All right, so now we need to do a chain 3 and join to this first cluster that we made. So chain 3, and then slip stitch to the top of this cluster here by going in and slip stitching, and then slip stitch into the chain 3 space. And there you go. That is the end of row 2. Round 3. Well, very much like round 2, into each space we need 2 clusters. So let's get to it. Start by chaining up 3 and do our first cluster, our beginning cluster, and then pull through all 3 loops, chain 3, do a cluster into that same space. Like so, chain 3, and then 2 clusters into the next space. So I get my 4 loops, pull through all 4, chain 3, and then another one. And that's pretty much how the rest of this entire round is going to go. It's just 2 clusters into each chain 3 space. So we've got 2 clusters. It's a cluster, chain 3, cluster. Chain 3 to separate, cluster, chain 3, cluster. And then, you guessed it, chain 3. And then into the next space, cluster, pull through all 4 loops, and then I chain 3, and then I do another cluster. Pull through all 4, and so we have another 2 clusters into this space. So I'm going to do that for the rest of this round. It's really simple. And pretty soon, it's going to get even simpler, believe it or not. Because after you're done increasing, you just do a cluster into each space, but we're not there yet. And we have this round, and then we have another round. So I got my 4 loops, pull through, chain 3. Then I need another one. And the next round, we still need some increasing, but after that, we're good. Oops. There we go. Pull through all 4. So I got my 2 clusters in this space, chain 3. Now, of course, if you're making this piece for a smaller person with a smaller noggin, you could always leave off your increasing at an earlier point. Pull through all 4, chain 3. If you're making it for a child or a toddler or a teenager, what have you. But personally, I found that this worked out rather nicely for myself. Pull through all 4, and we've got 2 more spaces, no problem. Pull through all 4. And pull out a bit more yarn. There we go. And one more space. Pull through all 4, chain 3, and one more cluster. Pull through all 4, chain 3, and then slip stitch to the top, slip stitch into the chain 3 space, and that is the end of the 3rd round. Easy peasy. Alrighty. Round 4. All right, now this round is still going to involve increases, however, not quite so significant. It's going to be every other space we're doing an increase. In this first space, we're doing just a regular cluster. The next space, in between the increases, we're going to increase. So it's increase, regular, increase, regular, back, forth, all the way around. Okay, so because we're inside of an increase, it's going to be a regular one. So chain up 3, pull up that loop, pull through 2, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through all 3, chain 3, into the next space. It's not an increase space because we have an increase here and one here. So into here is where we do an increase. So going to do 2 into this space here. I'm going to get it. And there we go. So pull through all 4, chain 3, and into the same space, do another cluster. There we go. Okay, chain 3. And because this is an increase space, just do one cluster. Like so. Chain 3 into the next space, which is just a middle space. Well, we need to do an increase. Pull through all 4, chain 3, and do another cluster within that same space. Whoop, I dropped it all. Well, you know what? That happens. So go back in. And pull through all 4. There we go. So basically what this amounts to, like I said, doing a regular, then an increase, then a regular, then an increase, and so on and so forth. And I'm going to do the rest of this round off camera because, well, each round just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So I'm going to keep alternating back and forth. Now I just did an increase, so it would be into this increase here, a regular, then an increase, then a regular, an increase, a regular, an increase, and so on and so forth until I reach the end of the round. All right, so I'll meet back up with you in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. Be right back. Alrighty, so I've been stitching along, and I went back and forth between a regular, an increase, regular, 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 and need to do an increase into this last space right here because I wanted to touch base with y'all. So going to chain 3 and do my increase right into here. And slip stitch in the aforementioned way. So I've got my 4 loops, pull through all 4, chain 3, and then do it again because we need our increase. So doing our second cluster into the same space. Pull through all 4, chain 3, slip into the top. Now, initially, when I first started doing the, this particular piece, I wasn't sure where to go into. Now, it's not into the third chain of here. No, it's where these all connect. And perhaps I should have said this before, but just for the sake of clarity, right into here. Creates a really nice, clean join. Okay, and then slip stitch into the chain 3, and bada bing, bada boom, that is the end of round 4. Now, from here on out, let me just untangle this mess here. From here on out, it's really quite simple because for this piece here, I did a total of 12 rounds. Now, we just did 4 rounds. Now, rounds 5 through 12, all I did was 1 cluster per space for 5 through 12. If you want this to be a shorter piece, like I did with this purple one, I did a total of, I think it was 10 or 11 rounds. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, this one's a little bit shorter. So if you're going for less of a slouchy look, then I would say go about your piece with 10 rounds or less, maybe even 9 rounds for more of a skull cap appearance. If, however, you're going for a slouchy appearance, which I kind of like, I would say go for 12, if not more, okay? So that being said, round 5, we're into the chain 3 space already, so really it's quite simple. Just chain up 3 and do your starting cluster just as we have done before. Pull through all 3 loops, chain 3, going into the next space with a cluster. Pull through all 4 loops, chain 3, going into the next space with a cluster. Just single clusters, no more increases. And chain 3, next space, another cluster. Like so. So you just do 1 cluster per space separated by a chain 3 all the way around until you reach the beginning again. So you do a cluster into this space, chain 3, and then slip stitch into this space, then into the chain 3 space, and then do your next round. It's really that simple. And so this would make round 5, and then do as many rounds as you want. It was a total of 12 rounds. So I did rounds 5 through 12 with just 1 cluster per space. Now keep in mind that after we're done with those rounds, we're going to make a little bit of a brim, which will be approximately an inch or so. So keep that in mind when you're trying it on and seeing, is this going to be big enough? Should I, make it bigger, etc., etc. So keep in mind that it's going to be a little bit bigger, after you leave off doing your clusters. Okay, so do however many rounds you feel will be necessary, and then we shall continue on with the finishing brim for this piece. All right, be right back. All right, we are now up to round 13, or your respective round. And so what I did was, yes, I just kept going and going and going, and I love how the ombre is taking effect. All right, so now we are up to our 13th round, at least I am, and I did the slip stitch to the top right there, and that's how I ended round 12. Now for round 13, also, I switched my hook size. I'm now working with the one size smaller hook. It's not crucial, but, you might find that it helps. So from here, after doing the slip stitch, chain up 1, and then do a single crochet into that same stitch that we joined, like so. And then into each of the chain 3 spaces, 2 single crochets, and then a single crochet into the top of the next cluster. Now, because you have all those loops, it can get snagged from time to time, and then 2 single crochets into the next chain 3 space, and then a single crochet into the top of the next cluster, and so on and so forth. So it's just 2 single crochets per chain 3 space and a single crochet in the top of each cluster. And that is going to be the beginning of our brim. Now, of course, if you find that there is an alternative that you would like to do after this round, by all means, go for it. It's no problem. But I am a fan of simplicity. So that being said, I'm just going to do single crochets from here on out. Now, a nice variation after this round would be if you did back loop only, and it would create a slightly ridged look to your brim. Is it essential? No, but another thing that you could conceivably do would be to do double crochets and then do front and back post double crochets in order to create a ribbed brim. That's another alternative. However it is that you wish to do it, I encourage you guys to think outside of the box, because that is how we grow as stitchers and as creative people. So, that being said, I always think that you should march to the beat of your own bongos. And as soon as this initial round is done, you can kind of go a little crazy. A little cray-cray, as they say. But I think it's good to do this initial round as prescribed. Just do a single crochet into the top of each cluster, and then 2 single crochets per chain 3 space. Real simple. Because it sort of establishes things, because, you could go into the actual chain stitches, but then your brim won't be cinched up just a little bit. And see, the thing is that we're taking those chain 3s and reducing them down to 2 stitches worth. So it will bring it in a little bit. Not a huge amount, but a little bit. And a little bit in this case does make a difference. Gives it a more fitted feel, if you will. And we are almost done with this round. And of course, if you are doing what I did, where you're just going to be doing single crochets, you can really do as many rounds as you like to obtain the width of the brim that you're going for. Some people do prefer a more narrow brim. Some prefer one that is a bit wider. Totally up to you. All right, so now we have reached the beginning again. So this single crochet was our first one right here. Now you don't want to go into the chain up one that we did right here. We want to go into the single crochet. So going into the single crochet, slip stitch, like so. And that is the end of round 13 for our purposes. Alrighty. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And then what you can do, which I did, now for this piece, I did, let me see, 1, 2, 3, I did 4 rounds total. The initial round, and then 3 more rounds of single crochet for this particular brim. So in order to go on to round 14, 15, 16, etc., all you would need to do is chain up 1 and then do a single crochet into that first stitch, like so, and then do a single crochet into each single crochet all the way around until you reach the beginning again. Now again, be careful not to single crochet into where you did your chaining up of 1. Otherwise, you're going to increase the number of stitches around, and it's going to grow in this particular, joining spot. And that you don't want. You don't want to add single crochets. So you would go into this first single crochet stitch right here, and you can also place a marker so that you are sure not to add any unnecessary unwanted stitches. You can place a marker right there. A little scrap of yarn would do just fine. And then, you can do as many rounds as you want. Now, what I was referring to doing the back loop only, what you could do is, instead of just doing single crochets, you could go in through the back loop only. And I'm not actually going to do this for this piece, but you can if you want to. Now, if you notice, you have these horizontal lines, and you do a couple of rounds, and you would have those lines going throughout, and it looks neat. Is it what I'm going to do? No, but you could. Okay, so that is how you finish up your hat. Now, of course, you sew in the end, which I have yet to do. And then once you've done however many rounds you want, you would slip stitch to your first single crochet and cut your yarn, sew in your end, boom, shaboom. It's really that simple. It's a lovely hat, perfect for the warmer season. Like I said, you could use cotton, and that would also, be really nice. And there you go. So, with that being said, I really hope you liked this tutorial. If you did, give me a little thumbs up button down below because I appreciate your appreciation. Also, please hit subscribe because I do try to post as often as I can, whether it's crocheting, knitting, audiobook narration, or please do visit my other YouTube channel, Fiber Spider Games, where I do video game playthrough, commentary, etc. And also my Etsy store. All the links are going to be in the description box down below. And until next time, I want all of you to stay inspired, stay caffeinated, and above all, stay stitching. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.